is going to be a slightly different video. So something I really talk about a lot in my life, whether people want me to or not, is acting. I am an actor. I've always been an actor, and even if I'm not acting, I am I'm in the process of something. I'm observing, I'm listening, I'm paying attention, and if you haven't gleaned yet, I connect learning about acting and growing as a performer and a creator with spirituality, which is what I usually talk about. But I love the process of acting and watching other people and wondering how they got there or how they didn't get there and what the problem was, and just speculating. Obviously, the majority of the time, all I can do is speculate, right? Which is another hobby of mine, which whether or not that's a good thing remains to be seen. So this is going to be an episode called Nobody Gives a Shit and the review that nobody asked for. And it's my review of the movie Saturday Night, which is about the origin and the very first episode of Saturday Night Live that took place in 1975. Now, I am 52. Saturday Night Live has been a very huge part of my life, for good or for bad or for worse or what have you. And many of my core memories are from early Saturday Night Live. Now, I'm not really sure how that's true, because there's no way I was awake at midnight or whenever it showed when I was 3. That doesn't make sense, but there must have been reruns or something that I was catching, because I remember that first crew. I remember the Belushi sketches. I remember the Spit Cup, the Chin Cup, Sherry the Lamb with Mick Jagger, the I'd Like to Boil Your Wolverines, or whatever that first sketch was with John Belushi. I have a lot of memories around that, and I'm quite certain it formed very much how I approach comedy, how I approach a lot of things, honestly, short-term things. So we went in. I didn't know much about the movie except for what it was about, but I didn't know its approach. So I kept my expectations abated. And I will say overall, it's a great movie. There's no reason not to see this movie. But again, I'm coming at this from an acting standpoint and one very specific complaint that I have. So I'll address the very specific complaint I have. So if you're going to do a biopic, right, regardless of what is true and what isn't true, there are some things that are just inescapable, like what I'm going to discuss, which is that Janis Ian was one of the performers, and I don't remember if she actually did perform, because they had 4 performers set up for that night. I do not know if she got cut. I should look that up. I am a big fan of Janis Ian. I've always been a big fan of Janis Ian. I have met Janis Ian, and she is a tiny touch taller than me. She is not 5 feet. She's not even 5 feet tall. And if she is, she's not much. And so I was super excited to see what kind of actor they brought on to portray her. And what they did was bring on an actor who is easily 5'7". And if not that, just not 5 feet tall. They were tall. And that was a bummer to see. So as a person who does not see a lot of representation for me in the world, as a 4'9" person, I'm going to stand for the right to complain about the fact that they disregarded this still accurate, because she's still alive, part of who she is. And the thing that was interesting from my personal history standpoint is that when I saw her, so my mom and I went to go see her at Chautauqua Auditorium when I was in college, so this is 30-something years ago, and I did not know until that moment that she was short. Somehow I didn't know. And so when we entered the auditorium, a couple of her guitars were on stage, and it was the first time I had ever seen 3/4 size guitars. And I was like, why are they so small? And then I suddenly had this realization, oh my God, she's small. And she came out on stage, and sure enough, she's tiny like me. And that was very exciting. And it was a great show. And my mom and I left, and we realized that we're dumb and we should have gone back to stand in line to buy a poster and meet her. So we went back, got a poster, and when we got up to meeting her, she signed it excellent choice of height. And I love that. That's one of my most wonderful core memories. So I was bothered when I saw her guitar on the movie set on the stage, waiting for her to come, and it was a normal sized guitar. And then I knew that they weren't going to honor the whole of her. So, and me. It dishonors me too a little bit, I feel. So, that's my only real huge complaint. I don't know. I don't know that the guy who played Lorne Michaels really got his energy. Because we know how Lorne Michaels talks, right? He has a very specific way of talking. And this guy didn't have it at all. And maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe he just couldn't do it. Maybe they didn't want it. I don't know. But it's noticeable if you're a person that's paid attention. They did a nice job. The actors did a nice job, and whomever worked with them or coached them or directed them, by and large, the energetic representation. Because what's hard to do, I think, when you are portraying a real life person or a person that was alive, and especially you're portraying it to people who, by and large, didn't know them as people. They have an impression of what they might be like, right? And these people many of them weren't alive when any of this was happening. So that's a lot to put into something. I understand that. So I appreciate when a project understands all of that and brings forth what energetically is consistent with what would have been happening, what would have been received, how the audience would have received or perceived that person. So John Belushi, if he was actually like that, he was a fucking mess from the get. Like that guy, I was thinking about it this morning. That actor didn't have very many lines, but he had a whole lot to do. Like John was kind of a lot. So he did great. All the ladies did great. The guy playing Dan Aykroyd, holy crap. And again, like he didn't really look like him. His coloring was accurate, but it was his voice and the way he carried himself. Same with the Chevy Chase guy. I don't facially, not so much. A little too. He did a great job. He physically carried himself like I imagined Chevy Chase would have. But facially, he just wasn't there for me. The guy who played Garrett Morris, who I want to say is a relative. The name was the same. Something about it. The last name was Morris, I think. I've done zero research, clearly. But amazing. But I have to bring up that I did not realize until the very end of the movie, and I hope this isn't a spoiler, but the actor who portrayed Jim Henson is also the same guy who portrays Andy Kaufman. And that was incredible. Absolutely incredible. So if you are a person who enjoys acting, like you're not just trying to be transported, but you like the craft, I would highly recommend this movie. And hold space for Janis Ian, if you would, please, and her height, or lack thereof. That's all. This has been a segment called A Review That Nobody Asked For and Nobody Cares. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye.